Okay, so we should have some idea about what a generic tragic hero is. Now, the tragic hero that we're going to focus on for this topic is Oedipus. And we're going to understand about this man named Oedipus by looking at a play called Oedipus the King. Now, it was a play written over 2,000 years ago. It's a tragedy, as in it all turns tragic, and it is about a man named Oedipus who was a king. Oedipus the King, the tragedy itself, Aristotle, our Greek philosopher, he called it the perfect tragedy. It has everything that a tragic hero has. And in fact, the idea of the tragic hero has remained popular throughout the centuries for over 2,000 years, like Mufasa, like Anakin Skywalker. But the creators of those characters owe a debt to the play known as Oedipus the King, because that's where the idea of the tragic hero comes from. And that's actually going to be what your internal assessment is about the influence of the tragic hero. It all goes back to the play Oedipus the King. Okay, so we'll go through this video. Yeah, it is a video. But first I want to talk about ancient Greek theatre. And this is a picture of an ancient Greek theatre at a place called Epidaurus in Greece. It is almost perfectly preserved. It was over 2,000 years old, and it was actually covered by a landslide. So it was preserved to be what you see here, and when it was excavated. It's still used. It is considered the height of many an actor's career to act out a play at the theatre at Epidaurus. I have been fortunate enough to visit there 3 times, and I can tell you it is magnificent. And the really cool thing is if you're sitting up here, where I was when I took the photo, and you've got people down here, where the Waitakere College students were, they were dropping a coin down here, and I could hear it up here. Such as the acoustics, the natural shape of this amphitheatre goes up the hillside. So it's pretty cool. If you have a look at the slides, which I've also attached, you can watch this video, which gives you an idea of the surrounds of the theatre Epidaurus. There's just a bit of heavy breathing going from me because I wasn't the fittest working my way up to the top. So that's the Greek theatre. Now, that's the physical nature of the theatre, and this is what it's more about. Going to the theatre was a religious experience. One wasn't just going there to be entertained, you were certainly going to be entertained, but one was also going as a religious practice. Theatre was honouring the Greek god Dionysus, who you may know was the god of tragedy, of comedy, of theatre, of drinking, of intoxication, and of good times. So going to the theatre was a way of honouring the god Dionysus. And the ancient Greeks would go to the theatre knowing that honouring the gods and an understanding of the divine order, as in men and women cannot challenge the gods. If the gods are challenged in a play, then the audience would expect there to be some punishment. So when the audience is sitting there and if they see a character who is challenging the gods or thinking they are better than the gods, the audience will know and expect that later on in the play that character will be punished. Coming together going to the theatre was like coming together as an audience. And it's not spoken about, but everyone makes like a tacit agreement. There's no contract to sign. No one really talks about it, that we're all going to make believe. It's just like us now if we go to a play or if we go to a movie, we're going to make believe that what is happening in front of us is real. We're going to sort of suspend the reality of our day-to-day lives and lose ourselves in what is being portrayed on the stage for us. The ancient Greek audience would have known the story. So when they go to see a play such as Oedipus the King, it's a very old story, they know how the story pans out. And that intensifies the drama because you all know what's going to happen next. And it's exciting. What the ancient Greeks expected when they went to the theatre was actually to have like a psychological experience. They expected to be deeply moved by what they saw and for their minds to be prompted to think and reflect about what they see and what it means to be human. There's a Greek word known as cathartic, which is, it's like a release. My wife watches movies that make her cry. And whenever I see her doing this, I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you watching something that makes you cry? And she says, oh, it feels good. Okay, that's cathartic. It's like a release of emotions and it makes you feel good. It's a release. So an ancient Greek audience would expect to feel a cathartic, a release, an emotion when they go to the theatre. Now, the play that we're going to look at, Oedipus the King, was written 429 years before the birth of Jesus Christ by a playwright named Sophocles. And he wrote the play in Athens, the capital city of Greece. And you can see in this image here, this is the ancient citadel of Greece, the Acropolis, with the famous Parthenon up the top. And yeah, I've been fortunate enough to visit there a few times as well. So that's Sophocles. The character Oedipus, what we need to know before we begin reading the play is that he is intelligent. He is a good person. He's not a bad, evil person at all. Always he tried to do the right thing, or at least what he thought was the right thing. But he is brought down, he meets his tragic downfall because he has fatal flaws. He is not perfect, like all of us. And he makes errors of judgment, like all of us. So Oedipus is us. We like to think that we have some ideas of intelligence. We like to think that we're good people. We like to think that we try to do the right thing. We also know we're going to stuff up. So Oedipus is us. Oedipus carries a family curse. His father, Laius, had been a guest of a king of Pisa by name of Pelops. Pelops had invited Laius to dinner. Now, for those of you who studied the Odyssey in Classics Level 2 last year, it doesn't matter if you didn't, but those of you who did, you would know the importance of xenia, of guest friendship. That if you're a guest in someone's house, you need to behave properly, like we would all expect today as well. Laius didn't behave properly. He actually fell, I wouldn't say in love, he fell in lust for Pelops' handsome son, which is Chrysippus. And at one stage, while he was staying at Pelops' place, he raped Chrysippus. I know, welcome to Classics 301. Chrysippus was so upset about this, as he would be, that he killed himself. Pelops, the father of Chrysippus, was so distraught, as Oedipus' father Laius fled from the palace, he said, "May you be cursed to meet death at your son's hand." Now, the god Zeus, the idea is, would have heard that curse, and that's really important because Zeus is the king of the gods. He's the most powerful of all the gods, as many of you know, and he protected xenia. He protected guest friendship. So, Laius, Oedipus' father, has essentially betrayed Zeus, and Zeus is going to punish him and make sure that prophecy comes true. That Laius will be cursed to meet death at his son's hand. So he's going to be cursed for Oedipus to kill him. So there's the family curse that he's carried. Now, have a look at this. Just probably go to the slides. I've put up the video and the slides. And just, it's a bit of thug life. I don't know if you're into this. I find this ironically funny. Have a look and tell you a bit more about the story of Oedipus. So, the prophecy is, and it extends, that Oedipus will not only kill his father, but he will also marry his mother. That's Oedipus's issue. The gods have decreed that he is going to kill his father and marry his mother. The two things, really, that we don't want to do. But that's the prophecy. Okay, just a brief overview of what the internal is going to look like for this. We study Oedipus the King here. It's an ancient Greek play. We then study Phaedra, an ancient Roman play, and we look at the links between Phaedra and Oedipus. And then you choose a modern-day tragic hero from a movie, book, etc., and you look for what links there are between your tragic hero and Oedipus. So it all starts here with Oedipus. How is he a tragic hero? Then we go, what links are there between Phaedra and Oedipus? And then what links between your tragic hero, I don't know, Mufasa, and Oedipus. And that's the internal. Now, the good news is, for this internal, We do it in class. We don't do the whole topic and then I give you the internal to do over 3 weeks. The work that you do in class, as I'll explain when I see you, hopefully on Monday, will be part of the internal. You're going to write paragraphs and these will be part of your internal. So you'll know how you're tracking as we move through. But look, we'll talk about that at a later date. So that should give you an overview of Oedipus the King. There's now a Google form quiz for you to do. Ka kite.